Hi, this is Chrissy Incognito, and welcome to another episode of my channel. So, you might be wondering why I'm incognito. This is my alter ego that can say things that I cannot otherwise say unless I was incognito. So, thank you. So, this episode is episode 2, which is entitled Eric. So, in order to understand more about this video, please view the previous video entitled The Beginning. Happy listening. So, going through puberty, going through that awkward middle school, being told you're ugly at school, being told you're ugly at home. And thank God not by my parents because that's a whole different other can of worms. Um so that was 7th grade. In 8th grade, um in 8th grade, I thought I'd start the year out as like, you think I'm ugly? You think I'm flat chested? You think I'm this? You think I'm that? I'm gonna be sexy and you're gonna be the little friggin' kid. So that's what I did. Um, I dressed inappropriately, definitely. But this was a time when kids like 13, 14 did not dress like this. Only on TV, and that's probably where I was getting it from. So I was wearing provocative things, which showed I wasn't flat chested, which that was another thing they called me. And no, I don't have boob implants. But I was like, I have no recourse here. I'm frumpy looking. I do have a big nose. In these clothes, I do look like I'm flat chested. You know, I'm like, and I came in dressing, like like an 80s rock video. Big hair. Well, everybody had big hair, the sexy clothes and everything like that. Well, unfortunately, this produced a whole nother set of problems. Um, um, I'm just thinking about an episode that happened in French class. Um, I remember this teacher, he was making fun of a student. Like, that's when I mean, I don't know what goes on in schools nowadays. But he was like, "You're ugly," or he was saying something, he was making fun of the student, and the student was my friend. And now I would I would walk out of the class. I have no problem removing myself. Remember, I don't stay where I'm not wanted, okay? I'm not going to elect to let you make fun of me more because you wanna make fun of me. So, it's no, game over. So she just put her head down and I assumed she was crying. And I went, I was like, "Hey," I said something like, "Why don't you leave her alone?" And he was like, he said something to me like, "You shouldn't talk, big nose." Well, I got up and I left. I'm 13, 14. I was like, "Yeah, you fucking think so." And I went into the bathroom and I probably trashed the bathroom because I was so angry. But, yeah, so it was like every direction somebody, was telling me I was unattractive. So at some point, my best friend that I was talking about, she started to become wild, okay? And she started to hang out with people that were older and not good. So my thinking was, again, now, could I articulate this stuff at the time? Some of it. Um, could I articulate it like I am now? Absolutely not. But there was a reason behind what I did. So she started to date n- um a guy, and this guy had a 19-year-old um friend. So my parents went out, they came over, um it was really innocent. I mean, we were just like watching videos, and then we were eating stuff, and then I don't know, then he kissed me, and it was my first kiss, and I didn't know that I had to close my eyes. But he was 19. He was like 6'2". He was like probably 200, I don't know, whatever it was back then. I, at the time, was 4'10", and I was about 80 pounds. So right off the bat, there's this physical domination. So I started seeing him. Okay. I started seeing him. So my thinking is, you think I'm ugly? I'm going to be sexy now. You guys can't get boyfriends, and you certainly can't get boyfriends that are out of high school. Got a boyfriend out of high school, and they didn't know what to do with that. My classmates, I mean, he obviously had a car, he had a job. It was back in the day, it was like 1988. And it was not uncommon for a younger 14, 15 to go out with like 18, 19, even 20. It was just what it was back then. Now, do I say it was right? Absolutely not. I shouldn't have been with these people. I shouldn't have been with this guy. And so now we dated for 6 months, and that's like 6 years to a 14-year-old. So the whole 6 months, I had to play defense, right? Because I don't want you, you know? Like, this is just a phase type of thing. Well, I come to find out that he was a crack addict. Now crack was just really starting to make its way into, I guess, suburbia. Um, so he was a crack addict, and it was just really bad. It was just really bad. I never did drugs. So he was never like, "Oh, you need to do it," because I wouldn't do it. But it was the pressuring for, I don't know if I'm allowed to say sex, for sex. It was the pressuring. It was always the pressuring. Everything was about it. You did it. I was like, absolutely not. I'm not adding one more problem to my list here, you know. And I didn't know anything about birth control. He didn't know, because I guess whoever he was with dealt with it. So it was like 6 months of playing defense. Like, I think I had my period more times than it's humanly possible. But at some point, I was over his house. And again, he lived in some two-bit apartment with his family. And he was so angry with me because I wouldn't comply. And so he was drinking, he was doing crack, um, and he's like, "Get in the car." So I get in the car, and he's flying down the highway. I'm like, "This is it. I'm gonna die. I'm gonna die." Not only is he a raging lunatic, but he's on stuff. He's on alcohol. He has alcohol. He's on crack. I didn't even know what crack was, other than it being a an illegal drug. I had no idea what the hell it was. I didn't know what it did to you. So we got home in one piece, which I still don't know how that happened. And as I got out of the car, he said, if you were of consenting age, I would have raped you." And I closed the door, and because it was down the street from my house, and I just walked home, and I really didn't know what to think or say. Now, so in most states, 18 is consent, but there's like, you could be like 16 or 17 and it be legal consent. It's just, I don't know how that works, but I was 14. So I think in the state at the time, I don't know what it is now. I don't know what anything is now, but it was 16. So I guess his thinking was it would have been your word against mine. But if I do something to you, It doesn't matter how consenting you are. So at that point, I started to pull away from him. And um it so he would pick me up. My parents thought I would take the bus home, and he picked me up every day. And one day, all right, now I'm trying to distance myself. I'm 14. I don't know what the hell's going on. I don't know how to handle a boy, let alone a quote unquote man. Um, so um, so he was there, and it just happened to be a detective, a narc detective, was at the school. I guess they were like looking out for, you know, um, the criminal lurking in the bushes to sell you drugs. Um, and he was like, "Yeah, the guy came up to me." And I was like, "Okay." He's like, "Yeah, you can't be here." I said, "Why didn't you just say you were picking up your sister?" You know? Um, anyway, so I was about to have a talk with him, basically saying, like, this has got to end. And again, I didn't know how dangerous that kind of stuff was, to get out of a relationship with a maniac. I was 14. Hence, I put myself in there, but still, I was still a child. So all of a sudden, as I'm trying to convey to him that this is not, like I was basically going to be like, it's too risky. We need to cool it off for a while. Look, the detective is there. People are getting suspicious. Um, he he pulls out a ring. Okay. Now, it was probably his mother's like discount ring somewhere. It didn't have a diamond. What I'm saying is that I don't know, he just got this ring, and then he's like, "Will you marry me?" I was like in another world or something. Like, this is insane. And I didn't answer. I said, "Well, I'm only 14." And he's like, "That's okay. I'll wait for you." And I was like, "But I didn't even go to high school yet." So I didn't really answer him. And he basically was like, "Take this ring and remember, it's my promise to your whatever nonsense he was saying." And then I realized that I needed to really call it off. Now, I'm trying to remember. He would call my house, and basically I said something like, "This is not working." My parent, I probably was like, "My parents, they're on to us. We have to stop this." I probably said something like that because he was afraid of cops. I think he had been to jail a few times. I don't even know. Um, and so I was like, "Yeah, they're on to us. We need to, that's it. Like, yeah, we need to cool it for a long time." So he wasn't getting the hint. And then he was just stalking me at that point. And I'm going to get into it, but he stalked me for the next 11 years. It's like crazy. It's like crazy. Now, thank goodness he never did anything. It was just the motions of stalking, I guess. But and so I was 14, and when I moved out of my parents' house, I was 25. So from 14 to 25, whatever that is, he yeah. So at some point, I started dating some other guy, and he would not go away. His name was Eric. I don't even think he's alive now, but he wouldn't go away. He wouldn't go away. And he called me up. Now, I don't know how other states are, but I guess in the Northeast. So he lived by a quarry. Okay, so a quarry is where they um get the rocks, so they have to use um, big machinery to, I guess, scrape out the rocks, remove the rocks, blast through the rocks. And it was known, that I mean, again, I don't know how true this is, um, that there were, um, um, dynamite sticks just laying around the quarry. Now, I don't know how viable these things were, or how careful, or how, barricaded this place was, but he would say, "If you don't get back with me, I'm gonna throw a dynamite through your living room window." And I did not know what to do with that. I was scared for a really long time. And so after it kind of died down, he would call, he would cry, he seemed to always call me um when the cops were after him. It's just the most bizarre thing when the cops were after him. Um so this was before caller ID. This was, so as a teenager, I would be up to all hours of the night talking to my friends. My friends would call, like I would talk to this one at 1 o'clock, then like so and so would call at 2. And so my phone was like active all night, right? Um, so every so often it would ring, right? When I wasn't expecting it. Okay, it's one of my friends. It was him. And he'd be like, "Why, Chris?" I was like, "Oh, man." I was like, "What do you want?" And he's like, "I just wanted to hear your voice." I was like, "Okay." I was like, and after a while, I realized he would call me when the cops were after him. I don't know what. I assume it was drug related. I have no idea. Because I'd always be like, "I gotta go." He's like, "No," and then he would say something like, "They're after me. I did ba 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 ba." He would tell me what it was. I didn't even know what it was, and I was just like, "Well, maybe you should turn yourself in." And, "No, I can't, blah, blah, blah." So these conversations happened from the time I was 14 to the time I was 25. And I told him I was moving to the West Coast and that I'd never be around again. Um, but when I got into college, just um, remaining on the same topic, when I got into college, um, he would call me late at night, and I'm trying to think when the caller ID came. I don't remember. I don't think we had it, or we had it on like the the new phone, and so all the old phones didn't have it. So again, I till the time I moved, I was always getting calls late at night, you know? So he would call, I would be in college, and he would say the same thing. "Hi, Chris." I'd be like, "Hi, Eric." I'd be like, "Are the cops after you?" Because by this time, this was when he would call. And he said, he's like, "I like," what did he say? He would say something like something really specific. "I liked your red turtleneck with your blue sweater today." And that's what I was wearing. Now, I knew he wasn't on campus. I said, "Eric, how do you know that?" He's like, "I've got people all over, and they're looking at you, or they're following you." Which it was some probably loser guy that was friends with him that knew of this situation and was like, "Hey, so your ex-girlfriend." But by this time, I had had a nose job. I looked completely different. I don't know. Or he was outside my house and he just assumed I was going to college or whatever. And and so either way, somebody was looking at me. And so then another time I was, because we were from two different towns, I was kind of by his town, and he's like, "I saw your blue car on Main Street." And it wasn't Main Street. I can't remember the road. It was some specific road. and at an intersection, and he had more details. He's like, "You were making a left on, Main and Jones Street," and, he's like, "You still have that little blue car." And I'm like, "What do you want?" So, this particular reasoning led to the other reasonings that I'm gonna talk about. So that's one of the reasons I wanted to go back and talk about what prompted my decisions what my reasons prompted these decisions. So first, I felt very ugly, as many teenagers do. I felt like I had a lot of confirmation that I was ugly by multiple sources, and then I felt like I just want to be left alone. And so, but by dressing the way I did and acting the way I did and cavorting with the people I did, that was not gonna happen. Obviously, I would have chose different ways to do it now, but as a kid, those were my reasonings. So I tried to dress sexy to be sexy. I dated, like, the people that were making fun of me couldn't even get people their own age. So not only am I gonna get a boyfriend, I'm gonna get an older boyfriend. So that was my first relationship, at 14, and I basically got out of it unscathed, if you think about it. I met a mutual friend, oh, I don't know, 5 years ago, so this is 2024. It might have been 2018, 19, and I asked, I think it was on Facebook. I said, "Where's Eric?" And what the mutual friend said was he's living under a bridge, and he identified the bridge, that's in my hometown, and he's like, "The last I know of him, he was living under a bridge." So, that's I doubt, especially with the fentanyl, crisis, I didn't even think he was alive a couple of years ago. So that's this segment, um, and so thank you for watching. I hope you found it as entertaining as I felt to tell it. It really is cathartic, and maybe it'll give some pause to why you made the decisions in your life, because I kind of feel like once you know what motivates you, you can then say, that's what's motivating me, but that's not a healthy decision. So, I want to at Chrissy Incognito, thank you for watching. Like and subscribe. I think that's what they say. And we at KMG Media wish you happy listening.